talk about today is how you can change your intent, and how if you change your intent to say, you know something, I might as well be happy. Why not? I'll just make it just like a work project. I can be happy, and set about doing it, because we know what the ingredients are. And we know what happy people are like. They often help without being asked. But we have scientific correlation data here. They devote a great deal of time to their relationships. They express gratitude frequently. Gratitude is a cause of happiness, not an effect. A very amazing and robust scientific finding. It's a cause of it. They live in the present. They relish the small things in life, you know, having friends on the boat with you, scaling fish. They have purpose, they're committed to goals, they aren't self-important. They look at problems differently, this is a special kind of resilience. And one, if nothing else, and you know what I'm saying is true, as people grow old, they grow old in two directions. They either become more serene and more happy, or they become bitter. And you can choose which one you're going to be. And for the sake, even if you don't care about yourself, for the sake of your kids and your grandkids, for God's sake, think about the possibility of being happy instead of being bitter as an old person. There's nothing quite as tragic as a bitter old person. So, I can't talk about happiness without also mentioning joy. Joy is something else, and I think you should aspire to it, but it's not something as straightforward. The search for authentic joy is a prize beyond human wealth, honor, or pleasure. This is Cicero. And be joyful in all things, Martin Luther. So how is joy different than happiness? Unlike happiness, joy is not influenced by external events. There's no satiation of joy. Joy that you don't run out of it or develop a tolerance to it. It's a stage of development in the most formal and exquisite constructions of human development. The stage of joy is a stage. It's not a state of mind. It's a stage of development. It can't occur if your tonal is all out of whack. If your mind's going that way and your heart's going this way and God knows what you're doing with your body or whatever, you can't be experiencing joy. You have to be aligned with a purpose. And it does require, ultimately, a transcendence of the self. There are moments of joy, and the one that comes to mind at the moment is I have a good friend, a dear friend whose wife died. I'm sorry to say, and he had been going to the opera for years and years and years with her, and he didn't have anybody to go with anymore. So he took me to an opera, a Philip Glass opera. I don't know, those of you who are familiar with Philip Glass. At any rate, I was virtually on the second row. I mean, he had fantastic seats, overlooking the string section. And Philip Glass, his music can be very, very difficult and very, very fast and very, very rigorous. And I was watching these cello players, and they're playing this particular movement. It's building up to a crescendo, and there's like four of them just like playing, and they're totally, totally, totally concentrated and into it, and they're moving in perfect synchrony, and you can watch them turn the pages, and the music is building up and up and up and up, and they're just, these guys are world-class cello players, and this thing's building up, and then I'm watching them because it's mesmerizing to see these musicians, and then there's this moment when one of them turns this way to just glance at the one on his right, and the one on the right looks over him to the left, and they just make this momentary contact. It's like, this is it. This is what we live for. And what they were giving to us, and what they were giving to themselves, and what they had created, the power of this joy, this alignment. There was no question. There was no self there. If they thought for 1 second about themselves, they'd lose their place. And we see this in peak performance of athletes and of creative people and so on and so forth. That zone, that place where your self just drops away. The self is not there. And that transcendence of the self can be a stage of development. And it's beyond happiness. Now it has, basically, there are some things about joy that are different. You have to be in the present. It can't occur in the future, and it can't occur in the past. It requires an openness. You have to be open to joy. You can't clench your fist around it. Joy always is accompanied with gratitude. Gratitude is a sister of joy. It's interesting because for happiness, gratitude is a cause of happiness, not an effect of happiness. It's incredible. And so is kindness, by the way. We've done, studies. There's a whole field now, positive psychology, where they're doing studies and they're having people do different stuff and seeing what causes and what are the results. And a lot of our thinking has been backwards on this stuff. And then, of course, there's self-transcendence. And then it would be disingenuous of me to tell you that it didn't involve also an element of grace.